10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome to EM Publishing's monthly update in May 2022, if you're catching up later. So thanks for coming along. I'm Jessica, the business manager at EM Publishing, but much more excitingly, we have Paul and Morris here from EM Publishing as well, and we're going to be talking all about the Dungeon Delver's Guide. In case people aren't aware, Paul, who are you at EM Publishing? What do you do at EM Publishing?
I'm a writer. I get
He writes everything.
Yeah.
He writes entire books.
I led the writing of A Monstrous Menagerie, which came out. Which you have. I'm jealous.
Mm-hmm. You have it very soon. It's in America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Eagerly awaiting seeing that so I can flip through and immediately find a typo that I missed.
Mm-hmm. That's how it works.
I mean,
and now working on Dungeon Delver's Guide. Sort of trying to push advanced 5e into new directions. Never say that. The original book has a ton of advances that it makes for it to sort of do the same below ground.
Absolutely. Well, we will definitely get into talking to Dungeon Delver's Guide. So that's going to be the main thing we're chatting about. So if you have any questions about that or any other level up lines, please pop them in the comments and we will answer your questions. Hello, nice to see you. Thanks for joining. So put your questions in the chat wherever you're watching. So Russ, aka Morris, if people don't know who you are, do you do anything at EM Publishing?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying not to.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I think we decided CEO was the way to go.
That's what I put on your business cards that arrived yesterday.
Business card in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to say I run EM Publishing, but I employ Jess to run EM Publishing. So.
It's a collaboration. Oh, some tooting horns outside somewhere there.
I own EM Publishing, EN World, and some other bits and pieces. So I'm kind of responsible for this whole mess.
Well, there we go. What can we say? So this is our monthly live stream. So we're here to just answer any questions and generally talk about what we've been up to at EM Publishing. So I'm just going to kick off and talk about what you've been doing. But instead of just staring at us, I'm going to have some pretty pictures as well to show you. Ooh. So up on the screen, so we had one of our Kickstarter campaigns that was running on Kickstarter that has finished now, and it was Can We Keep It? Pets for Your 5e game. So that went really well. It was one of our best supported ones that we've ever had. So our Kickstarter campaigns, they run for just 2 weeks, and we immediately, the same day it ends, fulfill the PDF. So everybody's already got their PDFs, and then we very quickly send out the books as well. So as soon as we get the money from Kickstarter, which is normally about 2 weeks, we send out the books as well. So if you are a backer of Can We Keep It? Just a reminder that you have till this Sunday, the 22nd, to fill out your backer survey on Kickstarter to give us your address, because if you don't give us your address, we can't send you your book. Unfortunately, that's just how that logistically works. So if you're on there, please give us your address on there. But looking forward to other Kickstarter campaigns, we have something a little bit less cute and fluffy than pets.
That's just gruesome, that is.
It is, isn't it? I love this image. So we're doing Sickness and Health, which brings in a whole new range of diseases for your 5e game, compatible with Level Up as well. And so this will be starting next week on Tuesday the 24th. You can now, if you're interested, follow the project. So if I put the link in the chat, so you can link it in there so you can have a look. But if that's of interest and you want to kind of take a look, you can click the link there and you can follow the campaign. So when it launches, you can take a look. Take a look and see if it's something you'd like to back. But as we say, we instantly fulfill the PDFs, so you won't be waiting long for that. Oh, somebody's saying, is the stream going offline and online again?
Yeah, I've noticed that too, looking at it. It keeps crashing out and starting again.
Oh, dear. Hang on, let me see. Is that on Twitch it's doing that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
I was assuming it was just me, but no, apparently it's doing it for everybody else as well.
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure what I can do about that beyond my internet connection. We're also streaming on Facebook and Twitter, so you can catch us on there. Hopefully it goes okay.
Now it hasn't done it for a minute now.
Hasn't done it for a minute. Okay, apologies. Let us know if it keeps happening, so we can have a look. But everything my end looks okay so far. Oh yes, it's also on YouTube as well, so you can switch over to YouTube and see if that's more stable. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying, so we have this campaign coming up, so I'm just going to put that link in the comments down here. Oh, I put it down there, so if you would like to, click the link there and you can learn more about sickness and health. But yeah, so the supplement has 16 different diseases in it. It's got 2 new adventures, and they're kind of, the first one is like a 2-parter. It's for like 3rd to 6th level PCs, and then the second part is when they've leveled up a bit later, 7th to 9th level, so you can kind of slot that in your campaign. Yeah, we've had someone jump over from YouTube to Twitch and looks a little bit more stable. But yeah, so that's kind of our next upcoming Kickstarter campaigns. I don't know, Russ, if you got anything to add on sickness and health, or
yeah, so two of the adventures, both of the adventures in this were written by Andrew Engelbright, who is also the person heading up the Void Runners Codex, which is coming probably early next year from us. Which is our sci-fi level up 5e sourcebook. Just a bit of trivia there for you.
There we go. So yeah, so if you enjoy that writing, it's all listed here. And like I said, it's also compatible with a level up as well as 5e, so either or. Also other campaigns as well. So we have been using Kickstarter for our campaigns, but we used Indiegogo recently for a campaign we did to support Ukraine. So it's called Peace, Healings and Blessings for Ukraine, and we raised just shy of £3,000 on there, and as you can see, we've made the donation, so that's gone towards supporting kind of aid for people in Ukraine, so the people that are there, just making sure they got some humanitarian aid. So the reason we did Indiegogo instead of Kickstarter for that one is because Kickstarter don't allow you to do crowdfunding for charity platforms, so that's why we chose Indiegogo. But we also had some feedback from some people that they're not comfortable using Kickstarter at the moment, I think because of the whole blockchain controversy situation. So we have tried to listen and react, and we are going to, after our sickness and health campaign, going to be running our campaign on Indiegogo, which will be on the 7th of June, and it will be Over the Next Hill, which is kind of different settlements for your 5th edition campaign, and again, also compatible with Level Up, so you can use it there.
Yeah, also this is kind of a trial for us, because moving from, say, Kickstarter to a different platform is a major undertaking where you've spent sort of 10 to 15 years building up a following on one platform. Just moving over means you get a massive income drop off. So, if people are keen on us moving over to or utilising a diverse array of platforms, which I think is the best way to do it, it would be really helpful if they were supportive of our campaigns on different platforms, not just Kickstarter.
Yeah, 100%. So for the moment, we're not going to be completely dropping Kickstarter. We'll still be on there, but we want to try out other platforms, so we'll be running campaigns on Indiegogo.
Never completely drop Kickstarter because it is, the dominant platform. But we'll try and diversify as much as we can.
Definitely. So if you're fancying some Indiegogo, that will be taking place. And like I say, that next campaign will be as planned for the 7th of June to be coming out. So you can keep an eye out on that there. Yeah, so that's the kind of quick starter campaigns. And again, just like the ones on Kickstarter, we will instantly fulfill the PDFs. And as soon as we get the funds from Indiegogo, which I think is around 2 weeks as well, we'll send out the soft covers as well. So that usual quick starter, really quick, although we'll have to rebrand it because it can't be a quick starter on Indiegogo.
A quick go.
There's something about fast and go there. If you think of something,
fast go.
Go.
Speedy go.
Okay, if you can think of something better for names, because you've seen how we name stuff here, please feel free to pop it in the comments there to give us a head start. But yeah, so that's kind of all our kind of crowdfunding news we have there. We're going to be talking about Dungeon Delver's Guide, which will be our next big Kickstarter campaign, but that's not going to be until the autumn of this year. But we're going to get into that. Before we get into talking about Dungeon Delver's Guide, I'm going to talk about the existing Level Up lines. So a lot of people in North America, Paul included, is very jealous that I have my hands on this beautiful book. So for Level Up Advanced 5th edition for the Kickstarter fulfillment, fulfillment has been completed in the UK, Europe, and many other parts of the world, but everyone in North America has been very patiently waiting for the boat to arrive, and we're really pleased to say that the books are now in our US warehouse. So what this means is that in the next couple of weeks you will receive an email from our warehouse just confirming your address, just to check it's the same. So if your address has changed, then you can just update it via the link in that email, and then so we'll know where to send it to, and then we'll send you the tracking details to get your books. So you'll be having your books over the next few weeks. So keep an eye on your inbox.
So close.
It's so close. It's there in the warehouse.
It's in the right country. It's in the right warehouse.
Not only is it in the right country, it's in our warehouse.
Yeah.
It's in the warehouse.
They have gone from Lithuania
Yes.
by truck to the UK, by boat to Florida from Southampton, by train, by truck again, and now they're in the warehouse. It's kind of like around the world in 80 days, isn't it? But
It is, but that's what global logistics are like.
Next time we are using a hot air balloon though. So.
Yes. Well, speaking of next time, we are already having plans for the next book, which is Adventures in Zeitgeist, which is part of the Kickstarter. But as we said, that will be coming separately. So when you get your orders for Level Up, don't panic if your order of Zeitgeist isn't in that first bundle. You'll be getting a second one there. And they have finished printing now. So the books have just arrived this week in our UK warehouse. And we sent out from the printers one to the UK and one to the US. And they should be arriving in the US at the end of June time. So you should be looking to receive your copies of that in July if you're in North America. And in the UK, it'll be kind of over the next few weeks, kind of early June time, you'll be receiving your books there.
I think we will have a copy of it at the stand at UK Games Expo if anyone wants to come and have a flick through as well.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead to the UK Games Expo, but yes, we absolutely will. We'll have a copy there. It won't be there for sale because we haven't done the Kickstarter fulfillment. We do that first. But yeah, and in terms of pre-orders, so if you didn't support the Kickstarter campaign, but you pre-ordered via the website, if you're in the UK and Europe, your books have been sent out to you for your pre-orders. The rest of the world, they're kind of on their way, and North America, your pre-orders will go out after the Kickstarter wave, so that should be with you in June in North America. So that is the fulfillment there. If anyone has any questions, now is the time. But moving on, I'm going to move on to talk about Foundry. So Foundry, the virtual tabletop platform. Russ, do you want to tell us a little bit about that, so it's not just me speaking?
Well, I can try. So, this is Memories of Holdenshire, which is the starter adventure for Level Up. So the core rules for Level Up have been on Foundry for a while, and they're free. So there's a compendium on there, there's a character sheet that looks, that's quite an old picture, but a character sheet that looks a bit like that. Yeah. It's all very, very slick looking as well. I do like the look of Foundry. So there's a working rule set on there, and as of I think it was yesterday or today, Memories of Holdenshire is now on Foundry. $7.99 I think. I can't remember the exact price offhand. You can buy that at the moment from Drive-Thru-RPG, from our Drive-Thru-RPG page. You'll be able to buy it from our own site very soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know what else to tell you about it because I'm not a Foundry expert. I mean, I know it uses all of the features like there's a compendium, there's art, there's dynamic lighting, all the Foundry stuff you would expect.
Excellent. And somebody has asked, they arrived late. No problem, welcome. They said, are they too late to hear about how Morris is going to be taking money from your wallet? Well, you did miss our upcoming Kickstarter campaigns, but don't worry, this episode will be archived on our social channels, so you can go back and watch it if you're very interested. As we just said, we told you about the Foundry, Memories of Holdenshire is on there, and the main thing we're going to be talking about coming up is the next book in Level Up, which will be the Dungeon Delver's Guide, which will be coming to Kickstarter in the autumn. So yes, we'll talk about how we can take your money with that product very soon. But moving on from talking about Foundry, we also had in Level Up news the next issue of the Gate Pass Gazette, issue 3, is now out. So that is now available. So if you support the Patreon account, which is patreon.com/gatepass, then you will already have access to that. But if people haven't heard of what Gate Pass Gazette is, we did a whole kind of I think it was our April EM Publishing update. We had Savannah Broadway on, who kind of heads up the Gate Pass Gazette. So if you're interested, you can go back and watch that. But to give us like a mini version of that, Russ, could you give us a mini version of that?
I think the headline feature of this issue, the one that people were waiting for, is the Spider Folk. So you can see one of those pictured on the front cover. That's a new sort of arachnoid heritage that you can play. It comes with a culture and other bits and pieces, but it's really creepy, really weird, and really, really, really awesome. And I know we were originally going to be putting that in the first issue, and it got delayed for, reasons. But it's here now. The Spider Folk, they are here, but that's not all. We've also got a whole bunch of archetypes and other rules to do with, if you want to play one of those characters that doesn't just fight, but also uses their wits, courtly intrigue and politics and that sort of thing. We've got a few kind of player resources for people who want to play that sort of character, which is kind of fun. And we've got some other bits and pieces. Mark Knoby wrote an article called Mount Geno, which is a plug-in location which comes with exploration challenges and some monster variants and various other bits and pieces. And finally, we got from Cassandra MacDonald a whole bunch of cursed magical items, which are sure to ruin your player's day.
Excellent. That's what we like. That's what we like to hear. But yeah, so the Gate Pass Gazette, as I mentioned before, you can check that out at patreon.com/gatepass. And that's a monthly subscription. So every month we bring out this digital magazine, so you can get new content for the Level Up line on there.
I would say that's our primary means of delivering new content at the moment, is the Gate Pass Gazette. We'll do like a couple of big hardcovers a year, at least we hope. That's the plan. But the primary means of getting new content for Level Up, official content for Level Up, is via the Gate Pass Gazette.
There you go. So check it out there. And also, we mentioned before, we are going to the UK Games Expo, as Rush mentioned, which is taking place in the UK, funnily enough, being the UK Games Expo. Well, you never know. Things are named oddly, as we know from our Kickstarter games. But if you fancy, if you're going along and you'd like to say hi, we are here, as you can see on this map. So we are in Hall 1, right by the door and chill zone, and also the toilets, which is handy. So you can come and see us there. And as Russ mentioned, we will have a copy of Adventures in Zeitgeist for you to have a look at there. It won't be for sale because obviously first we need to get them out to all the Kickstarter backers who supported us, so they get first dibs. But we will have other copies of Level Up there as well that you can come and purchase if you haven't had the chance yet. Have a look through, as well as Awfully Cheerful Engine, all our other books as well, a few copies of What's Old is New, and some other of our just 5e books and things. So all the EM Publishing goodness will be there.
Yeah, I think I'll have some softcover copies of the Gate Pass Gazette as well. I've got boxed up, ready to go. Not many though. I think like 10 of each issue, so it really is going to be first come first served for those.
There you go. So we're there all weekend, so you can come find us there, and a lot of the EM Publishing team will be there so come say hi and have a chat to us. And Russ may even sign your books if you ask him nicely. You've been asked that before. I remember it happened before.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But
yeah, but
although I got asked to sign a player's handbook once. No, I didn't write this. They insisted, so I did. Okay.
Well, that's fine. So someone asked, how is the Adventures in Zeitgeist going? As I mentioned before, I think you might have been away. Yes, so it is completely printed. It is in our UK warehouse now, and it is on its way to the US warehouse. So backers of the Kickstarter can expect to receive it UK and rest of the world in kind of June time, and it'll be July for backers in North America. Because backers in North America first going to receive their main kind of Level Up books, which will be very soon, as all the Level Up books are now in our US warehouse. So very soon, keep an eye on your inbox. You'll receive an email from our US warehouse telling you, confirming your address and then giving you the tracking details once we know we're sending it to the right place. So yes, that's UK Games Expo. Also, if you want to try some games of Level Up, we have some EM Publishing volunteer GMs that are running games at the UK Games Expo in the role-playing games section. So if you go onto the site, they're not up quite yet, but they should by the end of this week be up there. So I think there's about 3 different slots, so you can sign up to join a game and see what you think and check it out. Okay, so now I'm going to unmute Paul. And we're here to talk about now. Do you know what? I think we will. So what we're here to talk about now is Level Up Advanced 5th edition. This will be our next big Kickstarter campaign, which will be coming in the autumn of this year, 2022. And it's the Dungeon Delver's Guide. Paul, could you tell us a little bit about this book and an elevator pitch of what the book is?
Sure. So it's the Dungeon Delver's Guide. Is for there's kind of a double meaning there. Dungeon Delver could be the narrator or game master who's sort of building the dungeon, or it could be the explorers going through it. And this book is for both.
Okay.
So the first section of the book is player-facing origins, archetypes and subclasses, spells. And then the second section is how to build a dungeon and the various building blocks and advice that we have for that. As Russ, I think, said, it's fully compatible with Advanced 5e and 5e, as are all advanced.
It'll be super useful for 5e players as well as regular players.
Yeah. So I just want to talk really quickly about what that means for this book.
Yeah.
The sort of one of the bigger differences in Advanced 5e is that we've broken out race into heritage and culture. But for Dungeon Delver's Guide, you can just grab it and drop it into your 5e game. We also include a race version of every heritage. So there's nothing you need to learn. There's new sort of advanced bells and whistles that we have, but they're all explained in there. So it's just new stuff you can add to your game. So since I mentioned origins or races, I guess we can go over that first.
Yeah, sure.
So we've added 7 new origins. And because both Advanced 5e and 5e already have sort of the stock, the first thing I think of when I think of sort of a subterranean race or heritage is goblins, kobolds. Those are already covered. Those have already been published. So we're getting a little weirder and a little deeper in the earth for these creatures that you can be. So we've got rockborn, mongrel folk, mycelials, which are really cute sort of mushroom people, ooze folk, and let's see who else. We've got doppelganger, which is something that I've always wanted to know what makes them tick. Their deal. Are they bad? Are some of them nice? Like so we sort of worked on that and tried to figure out what a culture of doppelgangers would look like. Do they have one? Do they even know other doppelgangers, or are they just sort of like, does each one think, I'm the last of my kind?
Yeah.
And then something else that we're doing is we're trying a Grimlock heritage.
Okay.
Which is a challenge because they're blind and there are, they have blind sight, and there's sort of, this is something that a lot of people have tried either in their home game or, through various rules. And so we're seeing if we can get this right. And so this is something that we want to sort of iterate on. And this is going to be one of the things that we want to share and have people help us test in the future by sharing the sort of an article about what we have for them and ask you to try it.
Okay, cool. What's about? Do you say it was the ooze culture you had there, or the ooze?
Yeah, ooze folk.
Tell me about the ooze folk, because that sounds gross and awesome.
Right. This is sort of like, have you ever been on the other side of a 1-inch gap and thought, I really wish I could get to the other side?
Regularly or every day, Paul.
Yeah, it happens to me whenever I pick up my keys, which is frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So these are people who have spawned from ooze and from the various strange arcane forces and below the surface. They may not know exactly where they came from, but they're trying their best to act like other humanoids and learn their place in the world. And they're sort of a fish out of water characters, in that they don't really necessarily come from a long line of other ooze folk. But they
sounds cool.
Yeah, they can be fun. I think also it's sort of hard. They probably got to be good poker players, because it's just, they sort of create this ooze face, and then you're trying to figure out if they're bluffing, and one of their eyes is sort of drifting down their cheek.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we went a little weird and sometimes a little grosser than normal in this book for these heritages, for that. Another one of the ones that I really like is the rattling, which has appeared, I think like Warhammer and stuff like that had similar things for a while, but this is just a really fun heritage of the sort of the sewer folk who often are not super welcome in the city, sort of like real rats, but they're just, trying to make their way the best they can. And I've been sort of playtesting rattlings for a while, different rules for them, and so we've done a lot of rattling one-shots where the plot is, the human folks are not giving you the respect you deserve, so go and see if you can get it back. So I really have a soft spot for them.
Sounds very kind of French Revolution of them.
Yeah, well.
But so like Les Mis with rats. That could be where you go with it.
It's like perfecting an already good play.
Exactly. Amazing. Okay. Yeah, and I can see what you mean about we're not being afraid to go with something a little bit gross and weird in this, because I'm putting some of the artwork on the screen there, and you can see this beautiful wall mimic, which looks very friendly and lovely. So does this book also have a lot of other monsters and things in as well? Yeah.
I do love monsters. I love designing monsters.
Of course it has monsters.
Is that because Paul was involved with this monstrous menagerie, this massive tome full of
right, yeah. It turns out that after I wrote 550 pages for that book, I was like, I feel like I still have some stuff that I want to.
This is coming from the person that messaged me the other day about Monsters Menagerie too.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta,
That's a long way off. That's not even...
What are we going to do in Monsters Menagerie 5? Obviously, they've already got the first 4 figured out. Again, the monsters that we're putting in here, and we're putting in quite a few variants as well, tend to be weirder, more unique, something that your players are not going to have necessarily seen before, and the characters are not going to have seen before. Because one of the things that's different about dungeon exploration is you don't necessarily have an area where you say, oh yeah, this is where the giraffes live, or this is where the like purple worms live. But it's just everything is a surprise in the dungeon. So these are particularly surprising. Yeah.
I think the fun thing is because like the Monstrous Menagerie, its main purpose was kind of replace the monster manual, so you knew all the monsters in it pretty much in advance, apart from a couple. Whereas these ones don't. In this book, we don't have that same sort of imperative, so we can go a bit more wild and do a few new things with it instead.
Right. So and that's going to be. I don't remember exactly what the page count is. I'm guessing. I'm just going to say 40 pages, but don't count them when it comes out, because I'm probably way off.
Someone will do that now. They'll come back like, well, I had on the EM Publishing mainstream that it was going to be 40 pages, but there's actually only 38.
To clarify, that's 40 pages of monsters. That's not how big the book is.
Oh, yeah. Just the monster section. Because the
Yeah.
book is going to be like a
Big,
full
yeah.
chunky tome, like that apparently Level Up books are.
Right.
Just showing some more art. We've had a question which might lead us nicely into the kind of mechanics of the things. So they said, are there any rules on specifically dungeon crawling or actions and taking turns and things like that, kind of for being in a dungeon?
There are. So there's rules on both sides. So just on the player side, I think there's some stuff that I always would have liked to see addressed more by various rule sets about the way that you use abilities and skills in the dungeon, because there are specific tasks that come up a lot in a subterranean dungeon building environment that you can't really generalize. So it's the listening at a door. What can you hear beyond a 10-foot wall? And more specific rules for, can I crawl through the gap of this portcullis? We have squeezing rules.
Well, if you're an oozfolk.
Yeah, I was about to say the Oozfolk can.
The oozfolk for sure.
Yeah.
But those halflings and other disadvantaged folk that can't just turn into goop. Can they get through there?
Yeah.
And a lot of areas where the rules are silent and it's a lot of the narrator. What do you think? We want to have guidance on, or if somebody says, "This is a dead end," but what if I just hit the wall with my hammer for the next hour? What's going to happen?
For an hour?
Am I going to be able to knock this down and get to the room and skip your clever puzzle that you made for me? So we want to have a little more clarity about some of those things that tend to come up.
Yeah.
So that's just on the player side.
What about for the kind of I got a cool. Sorry, I got distracted by the cool picture here of the spider mount.
That's such a good.
Can we talk about the spider mount? Just because I forgot it was in there and I flicked through.
Oh yeah, sure.
Mount. Yeah.
One of our developers. We've got a big team of developers on this. One of our developers, Peter Martin, for one of the archetypes. I think it's the ranger, has a sort of a shadow elf based ranger school or tradition, and so these guys go around riding spiders, and this tradition has gone further, and you don't have to be a shadow elf to be part of it, but that's where it's from. And you get the ability to do stuff like shoot spider webs, create things out of silk. So you can see how this is something that's going to be useful in the dungeon, but also is going to be useful out of the dungeon if you sort of just want to be Peter Parker.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to be?
I don't know. I can hardly think of any reasons.
Okay, awesome. So are there other so is this the main kind of mount class? Are there any other mounts in the book, or is this the one that's unique to kind of the Dungeon Delver's Guide?
I would say it's unique.
Because I can't think of many others that would be in a dungeon. Yeah, you're not going to have ponies running around.
Right.
You have giant beetles and things, I suppose.
We actually do, come to think of it, we have in the equipment section, we do actually expand the amounts available. So you've got your giant lizards, your spiders, things that can climb on the wall and the ceiling are especially useful down in the dungeon. Your pony is not going to like going down there.
No. No, fair enough. Maybe don't take your pets from your 5th edition games into the from the Can We Keep It? Yeah,
depending on the pet, some might like it. I think there's some creepy crawly ones in there.
Fair enough.
And we also have a sort of a exploration of Underland, which is this sort of nightmarish below the earth, half caves and half wonderland.
Yeah, I was looking through some of that the other day, and some of the locations in there are so, I want to use the word exotic, is that the right word? Like really colourful and interesting, and totally out there. They're really evocative, I think is the word I was looking for.
We're really looking for it not just to be, completely grey, brown and black stone.
You just want to talk about a couple of those locations because they are so cool.
Let's see some that spring. I'll see if I can think of a couple of them right now, and then if you have one that pops out at you, you can pop into. One of the ones that I like is the Midnight Sea. It's kind of a trope to have an a sort of a sunless sea, going back to I don't know. I'm going to say I can't think of the name of the poet now. Coleridge, who had a poem
Sure,
about
why not?
water going down to the sunless sea, and I always thought that was really, really beautiful, and that's shown up in a couple of different settings. For us, this is sort of the home of Aboleth, so it's not really a place you want to go down to. And when you're sailing on the surface, there's glimmers of light that are coming from under the water, and that's Aboleth domes. This did give us the opportunity to sort of sneak in a little bit of nautical stuff. So we've got an Aboleth submarine, which you can potentially capture, and we even have an adventure written by Peter Martin, who's another one of our developers, where you can go on board an Aboleth submarine and deal with the many creepy defenses on board there.
There's so much stuff in this book. It's unbelievable.
It's a big book, and
Yeah.
that's why it's we're saying for the autumn, because it's still being worked on, and then it's going to be a bit of time and layout as well, getting it ready.
Right. Well, I have noticed that if I sit down to write 300 pages, I will write 500 pages. So a little bit of bonus content in there.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. We also have this awesome artwork of this pit trap here as well. So I imagine dungeons full of perilous traps and things. Is there lots of different types of things in there? In terms of traps and
I sort of think not only traps are traps sort of integral to the dungeon fantasy, going back at least as far as, say, the Indiana Jones movies, and probably earlier. Well, definitely earlier, because even the dawn of Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s, traps were integral to that fantasy.
Yeah.
But they've always been plagued with problems which make them not as fun as they could be.
Oh yeah? Like what?
I think that's something that really sort of impressed me when I saw the way you approach them. Is that one of the things you write in there is spotting the trap. That's the easy bit. It's when the group gets together and works out how to circumvent the trap, and it's not just a disabled device when you're done. It's
Exactly.
It's a whole thing.
Because I mean, in a role-playing game, like the core, and this is mentioned, I think, I'm going to guess on page 1 of Advanced Level Up, the core gameplay loop is the narrator or game master asks you or tells you the situation, you say what you're going to do, and then they respond with, well, what happens now? And this continues. And traps, as they're usually prevented, kind of break that, because you're not being asked anything, you're just being told, oh, and by the way, rocks fell on you and you took 16 damage because your passive perception was 12. Or, so there's no choices being made. And I think that's choice is what makes these games fun, for me at least. So I want to get to the good part of the trap, which is sort of like okay, I've noticed there's something suspicious on the floor over there. What are we going to do about it? And now here's where you have a sort of a choice about how you want to approach it. There's a sort of a lot of people say about traps that there's 2 ways to deal with them. There's kind of an old school way, which is sort of mess around with 10-foot poles and guess what the solution to the trap is, versus the new school way of, what is my character good at? What have I invested my skills in and such? And I'd say, why not both? So I want to make sure that every one of the traps, and I just want to stop to say that I plan to do maybe 30 traps. So naturally I did 100.
Great. Okay. So when I say, are there a few traps? And you say yes, you're like, yes.
There's 1 or 2.
I can vouch for this. I've seen.
There's 1 or 200 traps. Yes.
Okay.
And each one of the traps is a pretty sizable. It's not just a 2-line. Hey, here's a pit trap. It's various ways you can deal with it, because different people may want to deal with it in different ways.
Yeah.
Somebody who's invested a lot in having a character who's very perceptive, they should be rewarded for that and be able to spot the trap. Somebody who's clever enough to notice, there's something not right just from the DM's or the narrator description, could say, I want to deal this another way. I'm going to see if this floor sounds hollow. And the key to every trap that I think makes it usable instead of a tax or something that's inflicted onto players is the narrator has to give some kind of clue that it's there.
Okay.
There has to be something strange in their description, something unusual. Just for a pit trap, it might just be as simple as there's some rubble on the floor ahead, or there's an unusually dusty area on the floor, or something that makes people who are paying attention say, I do want to do a little more investigation.
Okay.
And then the way they investigate, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then that's all written in the book, is it? So it's got those prompts for the narrator as well. Excellent.
Right, yeah. Every trap offers at least an example, sort of, not quite a read aloud text, but something that's sort of what somebody could see when they were here that might cue them to investigate further. Because I think without that, you're just walking along and then something bad happens to you.
I think the other fun part of it is because they're exploration challenges, as we set up exploration challenges in Level Up, the rules for exploration challenges just give you some suggested ways to resolve them, but they encourage players to come up with new and inventive ways to approach it, and it's up to the narrator whether or not that works ultimately. So you're not kind of locked into just what's there. If you can come up with a cool idea of how you can circumvent this trap, it'll work.
Right. That's spelled out in exploration challenges. It's spelled out again here just to make sure that sort of gets across, but that's very important. If somebody says, I'm going to fly across this corridor, then they don't have to worry about falling in the trap.
Fair enough. What would be one of your favorite traps that we've got so far? Because I've not seen this list of 100 things, so if anything stands out to you.
Let's see. I'll go with we've been sort of playtesting these traps for a while, and I've been working on them for quite some time. And one of the things we did is, in concert with Peter, who is running a game for you, right, Morris?
I'm supposed to be at it right now, but I've said I'll turn up at 9 o'clock.
Well, I apologize to you, but we sort of had Russ do some playtesting for us without telling him about it. We said, here's some traps. Peter, throw them in the game to see what happens. Okay. One of the traps was, it's a bookshelf. There's a statue of a wizard pointing at it. And the books on it are all very valuable. There's a plaque that says, give a book, take a book, give a book. And as long, so you can take a book as long as you place another one in its place. If you don't, then a trap is triggered. So it's sort of obvious from this that it's probably not wise to just start ransacking.
Yeah.
And then I think what happened with this group, if I remember Peter's description, is they started looking through their backpacks to try to find what books they had with their equipment and trying to, of course, maximize the amount of loot that they could get while staying within the letter of the law that they saw on the plaque. And that's just sort of what I want. I want this sort of hijinks, sort of like, what can we get away with? What can we try? Because I want traps to be fun.
Yeah, make them an event, I think, is the...
Right.
And because it's an exploration challenge, I assume that comes with some XP as well if you come over them.
That's right.
Nice. So that does feel a lot more rewarding then. So it feels like you've overcome something instead of just avoided getting hit with X amount of damage then.
Right, yeah. Oh, and we also, in Monsters Menagerie, we introduced elite monsters, which are as difficult as 2 monsters, and they're sort of like, useful in a climactic fight. We also have elite traps, which are sort of things that can be used as a set piece. This is the big, the ceiling is collapsing and you have to get out before the dungeon collapses, or the walls are closing sort of thing, which isn't just a quick, let's see if we can avoid, tripping this trap. But this is something that is puts the entire party in imminent danger. We've all got to deal with, probably for several turns. It's not going to be one character makes a thieves tools check to fix. This is going to be something that everybody works together.
Yeah.
Excellent. So there's some people have just joined. So first of all, hello, welcome. So we're EM Publishing, and we're here talking about our upcoming Kickstarter that will be coming in the autumn of 2022, which is the Dungeon Delver's Guide, which is another book in the Level Up Advanced 5th edition line there. So if you have any questions, pop it in the chat. We've still got another 10 minutes to go. So please.
There's definitely something we do need to talk about, but I'm trying to think how much we should talk about it, because we've got so much to preview before August. We don't want to spill everything right now. But one of the really great things is the nodes system.
Okay.
What I thought, nodes as in initialization, or an acronym, sorry. What I thought, maybe, Paul, if you just say what the acronym stands for, but not necessarily go into too much detail yet.
Okay.
Intriguing.
I will spill one extra bean and say that what this system is for is as an aid for you preparing a dungeon and figuring out how to make it, how to populate it, and how to sort of come up with a dungeon that tells a story. Okay, so the nodes system stands for a novelty, an obstacle, a discovery, an escalation, and a set piece. And we'll talk about those more later. But it's kind of like ingredients in a recipe.
Intriguing. I am intrigued. We certainly will be talking more about the Dungeon Delver's Guide in our monthly updates. So probably in August, September time, when we're building up to the Kickstarter, we'll certainly have Paul back to tell us more about this very intriguing cryptic thing he just told us.
We also have blog articles coming out. I think it's every 2 weeks we're doing, isn't it, Paul? Every 2 weeks blog articles on this.
Oh, and you know what? There's actually one other thing I do want to mention.
Oh, yeah.
We because we have such a talented group of developers, one thing that I did was I asked them a bunch of different developers to come up with 2-page dungeons for us. So we've got 8 2-page dungeons. If you don't have time to make a dungeon or even sort of randomly generate one of our sort of procedural dungeons, which is fast, but this is even faster.
Well, you wait until that gets turned into a web app. So that's pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 8 new adventures, each 2 pages long, with map, key, 5 or so locations, and I think each one takes about 1 or 2 sessions. And they're for levels ranging from 1 to, I think, 17 is the highest level. And they're all over the place, different planes. One, as I said, is on a submarine. They're varied, and I'm really excited about them.
Me too.
Excellent. That sounds great. Are there any other bits and pieces that we should talk about today, or are we going to wait a little bit longer to delve into it?
We've got a lot to share, but I think we should spread it out a bit.
We're going to spread it out, okay. So we have come to the end to be talking about the Dungeon Delver's Guide, but we every month on the third Thursday of the month, we do an EM Publishing monthly live stream where we hang out and chat about things. So pop back and we'll definitely be talking about it there. And also, as mentioned, on levelup5e.com, every 2 weeks we'll be doing a blog post where we'll be teasing a little bit more information about that ahead of the upcoming campaign that will be in autumn of this year. But moving on to talk about other things, because EN Publishing, it's not just Level Up we do lots of stuff and or things. And one thing we have is EN Live, which is our kind of media platform where we make shows just like this. And so I just wanted to give you a bit of information about what's going on with us there with that on the upcoming. So every Monday at 10 p.m. BST, we have our show Not D&D, and that's where we interview different indie tabletop RPG creators and talk about tabletop RPGs that are not Dungeons and Dragons. So sadly, we can't talk about Level Up Advanced 5th Edition there because that also doesn't count. But upcoming over the next 3 weeks, we've got some really exciting guests. We got the Blade Runner RPG next week. It's doing quite well on Kickstarter. You might have seen it. Just a cool $1 million or so on that campaign.
I might even have backed it.
Exactly. So that'll be next Monday, May 23rd. And then the following week, we have the Die RPG, which is also on Kickstarter, which has over 250,000. And that's based on the Die comic books. So May 30th, we're doing that. And that's a pre-recorded one there, but please come and have a look at the live stream because we've already recorded that and it's a fantastic experience. We had an excellent conversation there. And then on June the 6th, we also have Love and Barbed Wire as well that we're talking about, which is about sending kind of different letters during the World War. So that's a very, very narrative kind of RPG there. But we do these every Monday, so you can check out the website enliverpg.com to see all the upcoming shows we've got going on for Not D&D and check out the details there. So that's what we do on Mondays. And on Tuesdays, we are back to Level Up, so we can talk about Level Up Advanced 5th Edition again. So we have our show, The Star-Crossed Seaway, which is the first official actual play. So we live stream it on Twitch TV and on whatever your platform you're viewing this on now, as well at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you can watch that there. Or we also have the podcast version of that as well, which is at enrpg.podbean.com. So if you prefer a podcast, you can check that out there as well. If you just look at the Star-Crossed Seaway, it's on most platforms. I think it's on the majority of podcast platforms, so you should find it there. So you can watch that there. So that's what we do on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, we have a little nap, but on Thursdays, we are busy because the third Thursday of every month, we have our EN Publishing Monthly Update, and on the first Thursday of every month, we have a one-shot using one of our other systems, and our next one, which will be on the first Thursday of the month, which is the 2nd of June, she says, uncertain. Yes, the 2nd of June. 2nd of June, we'll be playing the Awfully Cheerful Engine with accidentally anthropomorphic animal heroes. And this will be the second part of the adventure that we had from last month with the group, The Rising of Chicanery. I'm worried I've said that wrong. But anyway, that fantastic group. So you can check that out on Twitch. They were on there last month and they're doing a second part linked to the previous adventure one shot of that campaign and that setting there because they enjoyed it so much. And last but no means least, as you know, EN Live is part of EN Well, which is the leading tabletop news and review site. So if you want to keep up to date with the latest tabletop news and reviews, we have many different ways we can do this. Russ, do you want to talk us through this wonderful graphic that somebody made?
It's incredible.
Just so it's not just me talking the whole time. Yes. So it looks to here that people have a multitude of different ways they can get their tabletop RPG news.
Well, it occurred to me that people have eyes and they have ears.
Majority, yes.
And people might prefer to absorb things in long form format or short form format because they have different amounts of time. Mm-hmm. So we put out the news in a whole bunch of different ways each week. So basically the long form way is you go along to the EN World website and you just see each news article as it comes in during the week, daily news articles. At the end of the week, Daryl compiles all of the week's news into a weekly news digest, which you can read in the form of one single article if you've just got 5 minutes to spare each week. You can also listen to that weekly news digest in audio format, and you read that on This Week in Tabletop RPGs on Fridays, which goes out both in audio and video format.
Yep.
And then if you still want to listen to it, but that's too short for you, so you want to listen to it and spend like an hour and a half listening to it, you can listen to the Morris's Unofficial Tabletop RPG Talk podcast. Oh my God, there's so much stuff. And that's where we delve into the news each week in detail and spend like an hour talking about the news in detail. So no matter what your time budget and what your preferred way of absorbing content, we've got a way for you to get the Tabletop RPG news from us.
Yes,
And we don't mind which one of those you do. If if the podcast is too long, that's fine. If if you don't want to read news every single day, that's fine. We don't mind what way you prefer to get the news from us.
Absolutely. And where we just gave you a whole load of information. So if you're like, wow, it sounds like they do cool stuff, but that was a lot. If you just go up here to enliverpg.com, you can see the full schedule. There's an interactive calendar, and you can also click on things you like and put them in your calendar and just see what's kind of going on there. So hopefully you can come along and join us. But now we have come to the top of the hour, and I think we are done with all of our questions. So I think that's it from us there, unless there's anything else, Paul or Russ, that you want to say that you have a burning question that you didn't get the chance to.
Yeah, I think I've got a level up game to get to right now.
Okay, well, we will let you get to your level up game. So thank you very much for coming and watching. We'll be here next month on the third Thursday of the month, which will be in June. And for those of you coming to the UK Games Expo, please come by and stop and say hi, because we would love to chat to you and talk through all the different things we have. Okay, right. I'm going to roll the outro then. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.